Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In the next 10 minutes, I'll be giving you all the info you need for Jingliu's Rerun guide. I'll be talking about her best relic, Lightcones, team comp, rotations, pros and cons, and if you should pull for her, you can sit back and relax. Please leave a like and subscribe, it helps a ton. Here are her required materials and skill priority. For an overview of her kit, she has the ice element and comes from the path of destruction. She has the highest DPS in the game, low SP and universal with a wide array of teammates to choose from, where she can even be put into single or dual DPS team comp. For her Eidolons, E1 increase Jingliu's crit damage by 24% for her enhanced skill or ultimate, and if attacking a single enemy she deals additional ice damage equal to 100% of Jingliu's attack. E2 after using ultimate, increases the damage of the next enhanced skill by 80%. E4 during her enhanced state, attack gained from consuming allies' HP is additionally increased by 90% of the total HP consumed from the entire team. The attack cap gained this way also increases by 30%. E6. When Jingliu is in her enhanced state, increase crit damage by 50%, and when she enters the spectral transmigration state increase the syzygy stack limit by 1, and Jingliu obtains 1 stack of syzygy. For her best price to performance ratio, E1, E2 and signature LC. Lastly, for the highest DPS output. If you do not have her E2, do not pull for her signature LC, as it's like working a job for $10 instead of $40 an hour. For F2P players, she's E0 sufficient. Players shouldn't pull for her Eidolons as you will ruin your account. As with an E0 Jingliu, her DPS is already on crack. How to build Jingliu. For the body, you want crit damage, and for the boots, attack % over speed. Attack boots is a must with Bronya, Tingyun or Huohuo. Speed boots is actually not a bad option as long as you're not pairing her with Bronya or Sparkle. Overall comes down to who you're putting with Jingliu, and which has way better substats. Now for the substat priority. Focus on 30 to 50% crit rate, crit damage and attack %. Lastly, crit rate and crit damage ratio should be 1 to 4, as we already get 50% crit rate from her enhanced state. Here is what your total ideal stats should look like for Jingliu. For those running speed boots, do not go above 134 speed. I do recommend at least 40% crit rate on Jingliu as her ultimate damage is higher than her enhanced skill. You wouldn't want to miss a crit hit on it as it can affect your MOC runs by 1 or 2 cycles. But never go above 50% crit rate as there will be significant DPS loss instead. Onto her Relic Set. She can run any Relic Sets that I have listed. Here are the DPS calculations. Players should look at Bronya's buff for more accurate calculations as she's the best support for Jingliu. For 4-piece Dead Waters, Jingliu's technique is a debuff, but it only lasts for 1 turn at the start of every wave. For 4-piece Quantum, it's only good if you are running a single debuffer or her signature LC. With Pella plus Silverwolf you can see that the extra 10% defense does not increase the DPS output anymore as there's a total of 100% defense reduction. 4-piece Ice Set doesn't have a 100% uptime, where even a 2+2 DPS set can outperform. Overall it all comes down to which relic is more universal to farm for your account, as the Relic Set bonuses have little to no difference. And now for the Planar Ornament. Main stat. For the rope, go for attack %, and for the orb, ice damage boost over attack. Jingliu has a ton of Planar Ornament sets that she can run. Overall, Rudolland Arena has the highest DPS output due to 0 restrictions, but most DPS don't use Rudolland Arena, though it's fine to farm for it a little while. Here are the DPS calculations. Also, don't be clickbaited by Space Ceiling Station or Glamon speed requirements, as with the sub-stats roll into speed you will lose more DPS. Only recommended to hit the speed requirements if you're running speed boots or have units like Ruan Mei to increase speed. Overall the DPS difference is pretty small. Now for her Lightcones. At last place, it's both S5 Blue Sky and Walk Time. Blue Sky is decent if you already have Fall of the Aeon on someone else. After all, the attack buff is at a 100% uptime, plus the crit rate bonus does come in handy for Jingliu's ulti damage. For Walk Time it's actually decent due to higher uptime, but it's very restrictive where you need either bleed or burns, where the only scenario is with Fushuen plus Universal Market for single enemy bosses for MOC 12 runs. At third place we have Clara's signature Lightcone. High in DPS and tanky due to the HP heal, but the main issue is that this LC will have significant DPS loss when facing only 2 enemy bosses. At second place it's Fall of the Aeon S5. Jingliu can take 4 DPS actions in the first cycle easily, where she can get that 64% attack bonus up in no time. The damage boost from Weakness Break is also not a problem, since Jingliu is an AoE unit where keeping the damage buff at a 100% uptime is not an issue. Also, this Lightcone does give higher uptime compared to Claris Lightcone in most scenarios, as long as you're facing enemies that are weak to ice. At first place, it's her signature LC. Increases crit damage by 20%. When an ally gets attacked or loses HP excluding the wearer. The wearer gains 1 stack of Eclipse, up to a max of 3 stacks. Each stack increases the damage of the wearer's next attack by 14%. When 3 stacks are reached, it additionally enables that attack to ignore 12% of the enemy's def. This effect will be removed after the wearer uses an attack. Here are the LC calculations. Overall, I recommend all players to slap on Fall of the Aeon, as it comes close to her signature Lightcone. Especially when her E1 gives way higher DPS output. For Jingliu's rotations, you want to use her ulti only when she's in the enhanced state, as it does 20% more DPS over her enhanced skill. Without her enhanced state, it does little to no damage. Another trick you can do is to make sure to click on her ulti right after her last enhanced skill if it's up, and this way you gain another stack. The best harmony units with her are Bronya, Ruan Mei and Tingyun. Other supports don't come close. Even Sparkle gets outclassed by Bronya in all scenarios with Jingliu due to the 30% DPS difference compared to Bronya, where you can clear your mock runs 1 to 2 cycles faster. For dual debuffer, Silverwolf plus Pella, it's not that good, as you can see the numbers are way lower and they don't do anything else. Jingliu does not want to run sustain units where they only provide shields like Aventurine or Jeopard. Fushuen is good with Jingliu for the HP buff, and she's anti-one-shot. Huo provides a 7.3% DPS boost. Together with Bronya plus Silver Wolf or Ruan Mei, Jingliu may even one-shot bosses. Now for her team comp and rotations, her best teams will be a mono ice team with Fushuen, Silver Wolf and Ruan Mei when enemies are not weak to ice. If enemies are weak to ice, her best standard team comp will be Bronya, Silver Wolf or Ruan Mei. Another team comp is Blade plus Jingliu. You want to run Bronya over Sparkle, but E1 Bronya is preferred. Even better with Bronya's LC. For the rotations, you want to use Bronya's skill either on Blade or Jingliu depending on the enemy weakness. You don't even have to run Blade, as Jingliu isn't that SP hungry, where you can even run Kafka if the enemy is weak to both lightning and ice. For Jingliu's pros and cons: pros, triple S tier, highest DPS in the game, F2P friendly, excels in any content, low SP consumption, flexible, able to run in single or dual DPS team comps. Good design, hard to get outscaled for an ice element DPS unit. Cons: just an ice DPS unit, struggles when facing single enemy bosses, as her main source of ulti uptime comes from killing mobs. Needs her E1 to offset this downside. Can't run pure shielders. Not autoplay friendly if you want to maximize her DPS. Overall, there are barely any cons. So should you pull for Jingliu? If you need an ice DPS unit? Yes, definitely. If you like her design? Yes. If you are lacking limited 5-star sustain or support units? No. For her rating, she's 9 out of 10. That's just how good she is. However, players should keep in mind that she's not a must-to-have. After all, we have Acheron and she has way more drip. We can expect their DPS to be on par with each other. Let me know your thoughts down below. And that's it for this guide.